Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Hopeful Humpday video podcast, our live video podcast. Today it's just me. Stephanie is actually on a flight to Florida for a much deserved vacation, so she's with us in spirit. But we started this podcast to really just share stories of people overcoming challenges and just an opportunity to share some hope and encouragement and positivity with you. And we thought it would be great to do it on Wednesday because it seems to be that hump that we need to get over for that midweek. So we hope that we can do that today. And I am so excited about the story that we're going to be sharing with you today. We are here with Liza today, and she experienced a lot of grief after having to terminate a pregnancy due to medical issues that were going on. And that sent her down a road to chronic depression. And 5 years after, she was seriously considering ending her own life. That's how bad it got. So she thankfully had some hope warriors in her life that helped her to turn things around for herself drastically. Today, not only is she living and breathing, but she is absolutely thriving. She is at the top of her professional career for a biotech company. She has received several awards for her performance. She empowers and encourages her coworkers as a mentor and a coach. And she's just constantly looking for ways to develop herself and improve on herself. And that's what brought us together. We actually both attended the Rise Business Conference, and she participated in a Hope Warrior Academy. So, she's keeping, now that she's had a little bit of a taste of what, she can do for herself, she keeps going. So that's incredible. And I'm excited for you to share her story. So I'm going to switch my view here. And there she is. Liza, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here and hopefully to share something that is going to be powerful and insightful for other people so they don't feel alone in their journey.
Yeah, it's so hard, right? It's so hard to share those dark parts of our past, but it's important, I think, for our own healing as well as to, yeah, like you said, help people not feel alone in the thoughts that they're having. So thank you so much for doing that. So let's start with the hard part, right?
Yes.
Let's get it over with. Let's talk about the pregnancy and what happened and how you were feeling during that time.
Yeah, so it's December 2012, so it's been a while. We went to find out the sex of our baby. We're super excited. And instead of finding that out, we found out that our baby had multiple issues and that there was no chance for our baby, to live. Baby still had a heartbeat, but the pregnancy was just not viable. I'll spare you all the gruesome details. That's for another call. But anyway, so we had to terminate that very desired and loved pregnancy. We were blessed that we were able to get pregnant very quickly. And I think in a way, the fact that we had another baby was almost like a signal of, yes, you lost one. It was very traumatic, but now you have a new baby and like, get out of this funk, just move on with life. But people really didn't get to experience what I experienced and the guilt and how awful it was. But even for me, somebody that is a very positive person, always the high performer and everything, it was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to come to terms with that. And little by little, together with a whole bunch of other things, we moved to a different city. At some point, we had financial issues. So everything really started bubbling up. But I think it was the loss of the baby that started that path, and then everything that I put on top of it just made it bigger and bigger because I really didn't have a break to be able to grieve because I had new things coming and coming. So then when everything was you know, just on top of each other. And it was, financial stress, just, marriage, other kids, it's just a lot. And I had put myself really at the end of the list, still trying to care for everybody and everything. And it got to the point where I really thought I was a danger um, to my children. I was, unfortunately, I'm a high performer, so I became a high performer alcoholic. I was drinking a lot. I was functioning. I was doing everything, but it took like, 2 bottles of wine to do that. And it was awful. And nobody could tell any of that was happening because everything else was getting done. Everything else was getting done. There were no signs, but I knew the signs. And at some point, I was really sure that all my loved ones were going to be better if I was gone, because I feel so bad about everything. Um, I had a plan. I would start writing the passwords to the bank accounts and the doctor names and everything for the kids so people would know what to do when I was gone. And then finally, I was driving home one day and I had the thought, like, this is it. I'm just going to crash my car into the median and just be done with it. But then I had this other thought that it wouldn't be fair because that accident could hurt other people. And even even at me being at my lowest, I didn't want other people to hurt, even though knowing that what I was going to do potentially could bring a whole bunch of hurt to other people. But you're not thinking clearly. So I didn't. I didn't do that. My mom called. I was crying. I told her I'm just done with life. I'm done. And I hung up on her and went home. So it was that.
Yeah, and it's, for the purpose of this podcast, keeping it like nice and short. It's like it's so hard because like there's so much that happened that I know it's like you can't just be like, oh, a lot of things happen, because obviously to get to that point, it's like one thing on top of another, and I can totally relate to the whole, I had a miscarriage for my first baby, and it's just this weird like place to be in because the baby was never born, so like other people can't really relate to you unless they experienced it themselves, but like other people didn't really. It's just weird. It's weird to navigate. So I think that, yeah, a lot of just talking about it and awareness and bringing women together on that topic is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because, and I think you said it right, it's, unfortunately, like a third of women have had, a pregnancy loss or will have. So it's a lot. It's a really big number. And unfortunately, the stigma around it it's huge. And it almost like minimizes the loss, but it's really not fair, because everybody has their own right to grieve in a given way. And I've always been very open about it because I could not find any resources that would help me when I was going through it. And I think maybe that was part of the reason why I felt so alone. I have a lot of friends that have losses, but nobody like mine. And I think it's one of those things where it makes it even harder to grieve or to even find somebody that understands and that really validates your feelings. And that can really makes you feel really bad because you feel alone. You feel like maybe you're overreacting or it's wrong,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Right. Totally can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then obviously you didn't, like you said, you didn't go through with the accident because you were concerned about the other people, but then you could have done something different, right? So what happened that didn't continue you down this path of just like giving up?
So I think it's great. I was talking, like I said, I was talking to my mom, and to her it's like that's really not the way I interact with my mother. So lucky for me, they live in the same city, kind of where I do. So like about an hour from the time that I got home, I'm like crying on the couch, with my husband, and I'm going, that's it, I'm done. Like you don't even need me here. It's like, and he doesn't know what's going on because he's seen me at home functioning just fine, for years, not knowing that I could be a person that is that, deeply depressed because because I'm doing all the things. So he knew I wasn't very happy with things, but he didn't know it was that bad. So we're there, and then my parents show up, which I'm like, what are you doing? And my mom's like, well, what do you mean? Like, you just tell me you're done with life and you're crying and you think I'm just gonna sit at home? And I was like, well, yeah, kinda. Like, oh. So again, big back and forth, and what is happening, what's the struggle, and finally, and we're my family is like it's interesting. I was born in Mexico. My dad is not the kind of macho guy whatsoever. So he raised us to be. I have an older sister and a younger brother, to be independent, to be financially secure, to like never depend on a man. Just like if you get divorced, I want to make sure that you're going to land on your feet. You're going to be fine. So all these little things that are such an amazing thing to raise any girl, um, when circumstances change, and now you are not having a job, you're not professional, you're not independent because you're depending of the man that you marry and you have kids with. When those things were ingrained in your head, it's really hard to not feel like you're not doing the right thing, or like you're failing. Your expectations of what you thought life was going to be and what you have now are so different. Then that even makes the depression worse, because you're like, this is not the way my life was supposed to be. And what, why am I even doing this? And I think that was part of the reason why it felt like I just didn't want to keep doing this, because that's not the life that I thought I was meant to have, or that I prepared myself to have. And my dad basically said, I get it, it's hard. You're very sad that you lost a child, and you haven't been able to deal with that. But you have two living children here that you brought in this world, that they're alive, and you're responsible for them. Um, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let you do this, because you need to be here for them and they need you. Um, Very simple, um, but it was exactly what I needed. I'm a rule follower. At the time, I was like 42, I think. Yeah, I was 42. And here I am, a grown woman, and my dad is telling me there is not an option. And he says, I don't know, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, you're going to figure it out. And no, you're not going to give up. That's not what we do. We can figure something out, but I'm not going to let you do that. And my mom knows me. She was very quiet. She was having a really hard time. Um, and finally, she said, "You've lost yourself.
Mm,
You're not who you have been
yeah.
for the last 15 years since you've been a professional. You're at home with the kids. You don't have your career. You're not following your dreams for whatever reason. I had to put my dreams on hold, to help my husband and the family, right?" And she's like, "You need to get back to what you were meant to do in this life, and stop putting yourself last,
Mm,
because it's not going to serve you." Um, so that was really great, because it was exactly what I needed. I think it came in a very different way, like almost like I was five, and they were like scolding me. And my poor husband, he was devastated, because he really was trying, and he just couldn't get to it, because in my mind I had responses to everything he had to say, and he couldn't like say anything. But then my dad shows up, the man that I very like my dad. I developed my work ethic from him. I look up to him, and he tells me that, and I couldn't say no. So it was like, I think I'm extremely blessed to have him for that, and obviously my mom that knows me so well. Um, So that was great. And after my mom said, "You really need to get a job," and I'm going, "How am I going to get a job? I have two little kids. My husband's working. Like, I need to help my husband." So all these things, like I right away started putting like the butts, in my head, going like, I don't know. 2 days later, I got a text from somebody that I had worked in the past with, and he said, "Are you up for a consulting gig?" in Boston. I live in Texas. And I'm like, no, you're I'm in Texas. Like, no, like, what are you thinking? He's like, listen, you're the only one person that I trust for this. I need you. I need you now. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I'm sure you can find a project manager in Boston. You know, I'm like, you really don't need me. And he's like, no, I need you. And finally, like, I was really afraid that I had to stop being a victim and own up to what my next challenge was going to be. Because I got too comfortable being a victim. I got too comfortable with people feeling sorry for myself or with excuses why I was not doing one thing or another. And then, like, literally 2 days after I had this intervention with my parents, I get this text. And literally, maybe 4 or 5 days after that, he calls me again and he's like, listen, how much do you want to make? And how do you want this to work? You know, how long, you know, can you come for a week? Can you come for 2 weeks? How can we make this work? You tell me, and we'll make it happen. Anything you want. And I was like, how is that for divine intervention? You know, I'm like, I didn't have to look for a job. I didn't have to negotiate a salary. It was like, tell me what you want.
Mm.
It's yours. So to me, that was huge. It was like, okay, we have to make this work. Um, so I think if it hadn't been for the three of them, you know, my parents and my friend that hired me to show up that quickly, I think I could have potentially found ways to fall back on being a victim.
Yeah.
But they challenged me and they said, you know, step up. This is yours. Like, are you going to take it or not? So they made me, and I kind of had to do it. And I think that was the one thing that moved me from that place of desperation to saying, okay, yes, I need to figure this out. I am not going to be a victim. And what better chance to do this, you know, for someone that I really appreciate, a really good friend of mine, that if I do this, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get back to doing what I do, my profession, and I'm really good at. And it's going to look better. So I have to do it. You know, I had no choice.
Did this friend that hired you, did he have any idea like what you were going through at the time, or was it super just random?
No, no, I told them maybe like a year later.
Yeah, so I would love to just pause there and like, because I feel like people watching or listening to this might think like, oh, she got lucky, or like it's so easy for us to look at somebody else's story and just think, well, that's not me. Like nobody's calling
Right,
me to give me a job. You know, um, this person just always has blessings come to them. Like everybody knows like those people in your life that it just seems
right.
things come easy to them. And so I just want to point out that you made that mindset shift when your parents came over. You said, I'm not going to be the victim anymore. Your mom planted that seed of like, you need, to find your purpose again outside of just raising children. And
Right.
then that opportunity came, right? because
Yeah,
because
and
you
I
were open to it.
right, and I do think, and I'm going to do this one super quickly because I know we don't have a lot of time, but I deeply believe in like visualizing what you want, and I think there's a lot of power on it. Like you really have to sit down and think, you know, what do I want to do? I had, you know, I knew I was in trouble, you know, when I was depressed, and I started working with kind of like a life coach, kind of like a healer, and she said, okay, why are you so unhappy? And I was like, I've lost myself. You know, I want to make sure that I can go back to work, but I don't really want to jeopardize the time that I have with my kids. And I said, because I really want to be there for them, and I worry that I'm not going to. And she said, well, why don't you just write down what that job would look like? Like, what would be your dream job? And I was like, okay. So I wrote everything. I wrote the salary, the type of company. I wrote the type of challenges. I want to work with good people. and flexible hours, travel, everything. I wrote like, I don't know, 6 or 7 things probably. And when this opportunity came, I went and got my list and like literally copy and pasted the list into the text. And then he said, got it.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to do this. So I went back to my husband. I was like, we need to make this work. And, and it was really crazy. It was really hard. I would be gone for a whole week in Boston. I would fly out on a Sunday, come back Friday night. Then I would be home for a week and I would leave again. So I did that for like a good 5 or 6 months. And then, I got things in control. And then after that, the travel was less days, less frequent. But I've been doing that for 3 years. So even like I don't work for him anymore. I've had a couple of different managers since then. And I think it's like I think that there's a lot of lessons in here, but I also feel like um, we have to listen to the universe, and we have to put things out there because I deeply believe like if God put me on this earth, it's for a reason. If I didn't have a purpose anymore, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
And I think that goes for everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what the story is, or even if you don't have to have a tragic story to have a purpose.
Yeah. Right.
You have to have an amazing story to have a purpose. The fact that you're on this earth right now, still with a heartbeat, there's a purpose. Maybe you don't know what it is yet. Maybe you do. But as long as you're here, like this is where you need to be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, quickly, what are you working on now, or how have you taken that mindset, and how is it serving you today?
Yeah. So I think I've always liked to help people. And I think that's like one of the reasons why I became an engineer, because in my mind, it would be a way of making things better. And for a very long time, I focused on that, on things. Um, when I lost my baby, they said, you should write a letter and say goodbye as part of your grieving process. And I think that was great. And I was writing that letter. And then the thought came to mind, I should write a book or something about this because I couldn't find anything that would help me. And to me, that just shows who I am. It's like even when I'm struggling the most, I'm thinking, how am I going to use this for better?
Yeah.
And it just pains me to know that there could be somebody struggling so much with their life that they're thinking of ending it. And it kills me that I don't have the opportunity to talk to them or to share this with them and to say, everything has a solution except that.
Right.
And you know that. So now with this, I feel like my life is crazy. I have so many projects. I am doing so many things, but I love it because everything that I'm doing is obviously, I have a job and everything, but I focus on helping people in any way that I can. I'm also a health coach. So if somebody's like complaining about their gut or whatever, I'll be like, oh, you need to try this. Or if they talk about, I don't have time, I'm like, oh, you can do this. So I just need, like, I can't help myself. I have to help them. And I think my whole mindset has changed to where before I think everything was about me.
Yeah.
That's why, I was having trouble with me in my life. I was just so focused on, oh, poor me. I'm a victim. I lost a baby. I don't have the job that I wanted. I can't work on my things. And the minute I decided to take this consulting job, I even told my friend and I said, you know what? I have no career aspirations here. The only reason I'm here is to help you. And that has been the way I have lived the last 3 years of my life, with one change. I need to take care of me first. So I have to make sure that I'm working on things that are important to me, that I'm taking care of first. I get up, I work out, me, until the kids wake up and work and everything. But it's a lesson, and my mom said that, you have to stop putting yourself at the end because then this is what happens. So There's a lot of it, but I think the fact that I'm using my story and literally this second chance at life to not focus on me and to have this service mentality of, oh my God, I almost got to not live this awesome life that I've had in the last 3 years. How can I turn that into a real lesson learned and share it with other people? So that's my goal. I'm trying to become a writer and a speaker and share all of this in with hopes to do that, right? To give people hope, to let them know that there's people out there everywhere, that you don't have to be so tough, that you don't have to pretend like that life is okay. Um, a few months ago, I had a really good chat with my girlfriends. We were having dinner or something, and I shared this with them, and all six of them were like, what? Like they knew me. I would see them at my kids' school. They had no idea. And I'm like, can you imagine if we were a little less proud and we actually, when they ask you how you doing, you said the right, like, honestly, the way you feel, life would be different,
Yeah.
And you know who you can be really, really honest with and who's not going to do anything. But if you have somebody that you can be honest and open, you need to reach out and talk and ask for help because there's a ton of us out there just waiting to help, and you never know, who could be that person that becomes your warrior, like my dad did to me, or my friend. And those warriors come in the most unexpected time and ways. So you just don't know. So, like, if you're struggling, I think my biggest ask of you would be ask for help, reach out. I mean, we could probably put like my Facebook page or whatever, but like, I'm honestly saying, I'm not going to judge you. I don't know you. I'm a complete stranger. And sometimes that's the best person to reach out to because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just being open to help, even if you're not ready to ask for help,
Right.
like just setting that intention and saying like, okay, I'm not doing so well on my own. I need to like start looking for somebody that could do something. Then they will show up.
Right.
And you won't even really have to go so far out of your way. And it might show up in the form of a video on Facebook or whatever.
Hopefully.
Like you never know. I know like when I was going through my toughest times, I found so much just encouragement, even from just people sharing their stories, not even directly to me, but just on, the
Yes.
internet or whatever, or reading books. And so that's an option too. Like if there's honestly no one that you would feel comfortable speaking to yet, just flipping that mindset, and just being open and setting that intention.
Right.
So
Yeah.
well, thank you so much. There was so
Thank
much
you.
great stuff in there. And last thing we're going to do, so yeah, as you said, we will share your information. So if anybody does want to connect with Lisa, she's open. She's a Hope Warrior, so she's ready and willing to help out in any way she can. Um, but yeah, last thing is we're just going to let you take over Hope Warrior Project for the day. So if you could give us
Okay.
our daily insight and mindfulness question.
Sure. So I think the insight of the day from this particular topic would be that you need to find at least one reason that is going to keep you fighting. One thing that is going to keep you alive one day at a time. Like change is hard. So focus on the tiniest things. Um, whether it's a job, a loved one, somebody, focus on one person, one thing that you need to do and that you're going to be showing up for that on a daily basis. And I think the question is like, who in your life or what is the thing that you can show up for right now? Even if life is really hard. Like I had two beautiful kids and I was so bad that I wasn't even gonna do it for them. So I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
So and there's always something that you can do. And like I said that before, um, the only thing that doesn't have a solution is death. Everything else has a solution. Everything.
I
Everything.
think maybe that should be tomorrow's insight because that
Okay, go
that
for it.
that stuck out to me. And like I've been saying that even with my kids. Okay, like she learned it in her first grade from her first grade teacher. There's always a solution, right? Teaching them early that like there's always a solution. You just got to be
Yeah,
open to it and you just got to look for it. So I think that's
right.
great.
I think so too.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
And next week, we will have another episode to share more stories of hope with you all. So tune in and have an awesome week.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.